Welcome to another Christ Community Bible Study as we are continuing this study about the sacred path, which again is a mirror or a reflection of the Via Dolorosa, which is the path that Jesus walked from the moment he was condemned all the way to the cross. And the goal of this series, again, has been designed to help us experience that path and some of the things that would be central and near and dear to the heart of Jesus for his followers. And so we're going to deal with that as we get into April. We'll actually talk about all the different stations that represent points and segments in the life of Jesus from the point he was condemned all the way to the cross. We'll do that in April. But these are just more like preliminaries that we just wanted to kind of set the table for some things that I think are very important or actually intrinsic to the life of a follower of Jesus. So in this video, we want to raise the issue because I think it's an important issue. Well, what does the life of faith has to say about our words? Thank you for joining us, and we've heard the phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. But boy, have we come completely counterclockwise on that adage. Because we live in a day where words dominate, not just positive, affirming words, but vitriolic attack style words. It is just popular. It is the norm today to attack, to assassinate, to cancel someone, to say something negative. You can be 100% right, and you better believe someone is coming after you. And I don't expect anything less from the world or culture, because again, the faith of Christ, or the faith that we live in Christ, is not a morality police kind of faith. We're not trying to police the morals of people. We believe that true transformation happens on the inside as we come in relationship with Christ. And so that's not the goal here when we talk about words. But probably what's a little bit more disappointing is when Christians begin to take on the behaviors of the world, where Christians become cancel-oriented, where Christians become extremely vitriolic and even profane with their words, and yet, on the other hand, will claim the cross of Christ and basically hold on to the scriptures. And I see huge contradictions in that. And I'll be the first to say, I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone. I definitely will be the first to say, particularly in this new context, social media, our political spaces and things like that, I find myself struggling to say the right words. I find myself having to put a rein on my mouth. Because boy, if I said what I really wanted to say, y'all may cut this thing off. This will be not a rated G version. This will be rated RRR. Because the truth is, we live in that kind of culture where it really can provoke you to say some things you shouldn't say. And so really in this video, what I want to do is help us as people of faith to come to grips with what Jesus said about our words. And I'm sure Jesus, there's a couple of instances we can say Jesus kind of went left. Definitely his woe sermons on the last week before he was arrested and crucified, where he goes off on the religious leaders. He didn't have too many kind words to say when he cleansed the temple. We can go on and on. So Jesus himself let loose a few on his opponents because of their hypocrisy, and sometimes they're just patently stubbornness that he was dealing with. So I think the Lord understands the struggles we have. And so what I want to do today is just put a couple of scriptures in mind and really cause us more than anything to pause and really be prayerful, particularly this week and next week, hopefully, just to think about the words we say and what we want to say. And so listen to the words of James. This is from James chapter 1, verse 26. And here's what he said. If anyone thinks himself to be religious, we would say if anyone thinks himself to have faith or be a follower of Christ. That's pretty much how James is using it. And yet does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man's religion or his faith is worthless, meaning that it's vain, it's empty, there's nothing there. There's a sense that James is saying, if we speak with unbridled tongues, notice what he's saying. He's not saying that we're not going to be tempted. He's not saying that we're not going to have struggles to say profane, provocative, and even desecrating things that are just not sacred. What he's saying is we got to learn to bridle it. We got to learn to put a rein on it. And a man who or a woman who does not at least put some kind of temper or some kind of filter on their tongue, he says, look, your faith is empty. There's nothing there. To think that to be Christian or to be authentic means I can say whatever I want to say is really antithetical and the exact opposite of what it means to be a follower of Christ. And so let us heed the words of James. Then listen to what Jesus says in Matthew 12, verse 36. He says, but I tell you that every careless word that people speak, they shall give an accounting for it in the day of judgment. And here he's not just talking about unbelievers. He's talking about everyone. Matter of fact, this is the context of that verse is when Jesus is accused of casting out demons by Beelzebub. As if he's casting out demons, we would say, by the devil. He's healing the sick. He's raising the dead. He's doing all miraculous things. And yet the accusation or the conclusion is, oh, he's doing that by the hand of the devil. Really? You think the devil wants to bring life where there's darkness? He wants to bring hope where there's death? He says, no, you're so stubborn. You're so blind. You don't even realize what you're saying. And here he says, such carelessness with our words, we're going to have to give an account for them. And so, again, there's another sense that we ought to be careful with our words. And then the last one I want to give you, and just some things to think about when it comes to our words, particularly during this the sacred path, this Via Dolorosa season. Here's what Jesus said in Matthew 5, verse 22. And I gave you the New Living Translation because I think it brings it out more relative to our contemporary situation. But I say to you, if you are even angry with someone and you are subject to the judgment, if you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you're in danger of the fires of hell. Now, what is he doing? Some say he's being hyperbolic here, which he probably is. That's what preachers do. As homiletians, many times we kind of stretch it to make our point and to push people where they need to be. So is he being literal? Probably not, but he is maybe being a little bit hyperbolic. But by being hyperbolic, he is underscoring the seriousness of our words. Why? Because I think you can draw from this passage that God assumes and basically cherishes this idea that every single human being is made in the image of God. We're made in the image of God, the imago Dei, the Latin phrase, which means made in his image. And because every single human being is made in the image of God, we've got to be careful how we handle and what we say about people, even those we disagree strongly with. And so as a word, I think there's a couple things I'd like to leave you with. Number one, we got to be more prayerful. I've mentioned this before, and I think it's worth mentioning again, that usually when we're provoked or we find ourselves getting angry, our emotional brain activates first. And unless we wait 10 seconds, we will say something out of emotion rather than logic. And logic always prevails. It always prevails. It's not until we get to our logic brain do we get some kind of resolution, do we really get to some kind of rational thought where something can be settled. Much of the research says when we speak out of emotion, we only make it worse. So number one, a prayerful pause. A prayerful pause. A prayerful pause in the moment. You may have to do a prayerful walk away or walk around the block. So you don't say anything that you might regret. And then the second thing I would say is number two, which is something I try to do from time to time and my friends do, accountable with your words. You know, you kind of review your day, you review your week with another Christian, you know, and you speak to the fact, how many times are you being profane? How many times have you said something negatively about people? Maybe things are behind their back. Maybe you've castigated them in a way that does not reflect who they are. Even if we're speaking truthfully, you know, a person is a vile person. That's probably still a temptation toward damaging the imago Dei in someone. And so those are times we want to be accountable with our words and just notice the number of times we're doing it. And so that's something we want to work on. So those are the two things I would leave with us. But make no mistake, a lot of Christians are violating this central command of Jesus, where we really think that we can say whatever we want to say and somehow God is cool with it. No, God is not cool with it. John said it like this: how can you say you love your brother who you see, and how can you claim that you love God whom you don't see, and then you treat your brother in a wrong way that you can see? No, we can't do that. We can't do that. That is inconsistent with what it means to be a person of faith. And so God bless you. That's another step in this sacred path, and I'll be looking forward to sharing with you in our next video in April. God bless you. See you soon.